see in a moment, the Emboar, the Reuniclus, the Bisharp, the Amoonguss, the Eelektross, and the Conkeldurr. And then Max on the other end with the Archaludon, Pelipper, Blastoise, Dragonite, Sneasler, and Indeedee Female. So, obviously we want to talk a little bit about this Mono Unova team. And I think the interesting thing... Put this goof over here.
We're chilling.
The interesting thing about the Mono Unovan team, and I mean that's the famous thing about Unova as a region, is a lot of the Pokemon are very slow. And this team is trying to make some use out of that by being a Trick Room team around that Reuniclus. The only one on the team able to set the Trick Room, but all these Pokemon are pretty slow and look like they are not invested in speed, if potentially negatively invested in speed. Although I'm surprised we don't have something like Vandalure in Scarlet and Violet? I don't even remember.
It is, yes.
That would be another interesting Trick Room setter for this team. But
yeah, I feel like the concept of Lucy's team is basically similar to a lot of the Trick Room team. You set up with Reuniclus, which luckily I believe it's Magikarp, so you can't... there's some immunities there. And then you also use Conkeldurr as like a gut sweeper, similar to how Ursaluna's been running, although it's got a bit of a different type coverage. Obviously, you've got Fighting. We also get Dark and Ice with Knockoff and Ice Punch.
Yeah.
Max's team, a bit more fast. The concerning thing is there's no real way to stop Trick Room. I have Indeedee Female on it, but it is Psychic, Protect, Helping Him, Follow Me. No Imprison, and no reversal of Trick Room. So you're really just banking on getting rid of that Reuniclus right away. And we're going to see Max lead with that, Blastoise and Indeedee lead, Lucy leading with Reuniclus and Amoonguss.
I'm interested to see how this first turn goes, because this Blastoise, it is Shell Smash, it is Water Spout, it's Water Pledge, it's a blast attacking move. It really just wants to click Shell Smash turn 1, like Follow Me Shell Smash. But that would allow Lucy to get a basically free Trick Room up, and that would be pretty bad for Blastoise.
I feel like, in this case...
But at the same time, I mean, if you know you outspeed, you could just go for a Water Spout, but
that's what I was gonna say.
We'll have to see how much it does. We really don't know the calcs between these Pokemon here.
And that Blastoise going to Terra to Water just to make sure that it does as much damage as possible. It is Splash Plate as well.
It might get the Helping Hand as well to try to boost that damage even further.
Basically treat it as if it's a mini Kyogre here, and there is that Helping Hand. I am curious on Reuniclus because it's a very unusual Pokemon with a full power
bulky.
Terra Water, Water Spout. And if this knocks out, that's bad. It does knock out! That is 50% on the Amoonguss as well!
That is a ton of damage. That is a really, really big amount of damage.
The Pollen Puff coming out to just chip the Indeedee down about a third.
And yeah, that is going to make this game a lot more difficult for Lucy. The Eelektross can come in. It is Assault Vest, so it'll take hits pretty well. But now, I mean, you lose your only Trick Room user, which makes things a lot more difficult, and you're also still opening yourself up to taking another Water Spout. Like, there's not really a lot of downside. Blastoise could protect, could try to go a little bit more defensive on this. There's not really a downside to doing another Helping Hand Water Spout and seeing what happens.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just the play, and that for the rest of the game, there's not much. I mean, you probably will knock out the... I was going to say you would knock out the Amoonguss if it was staying in play. But we're going to see Conkeldurr swap on out here.
If it's able to take a hit, then it'll get the Flame Orb up and get the Guts.
And Indeedee Follow Me, just removing any possible attack onto this Blastoise, because Eelektross only has a single attack moveset here. No spread moves, and the Blastoise just decides, you know what, we're going to go for the boost. Why not?
I like that a lot, actually, because, again, not a lot of downside.
No.
And at this point, I mean, you take the Thunderbolt, Indeedee still takes that hit, but now, it does anything, even Assault Vest Eelektross, pretty bulky, does it take a Helping Hand Water Spout from this Terra Water Splash Plate full HP Blastoise? Times 2 special attack?
We are going to see this Conkeldurr Terra to Water, so that'll at least half the damage, which I think in the next game I was going to point out, Reuniclus has Terra Dragon, so it resists the water spouts. I think that was a bit...
That will probably be important in the next game if that is what Lucy decides to try to opt towards.
But Helping Hand, once again, I'm curious, this is now +2 Water Spout into... It's an AV Eelektross and Conkeldurr Terra Water. I don't think either one's gonna live it. Yeah.
Oh, that is a disturbing amount of damage.
Even
that is
with
just a ton of damage.
Even with that Terra Water.
And I mean, remember, this entire team is built around Trick Room, which means that it is not. None of these Pokemon are invested in speed, meaning all of them are more invested in bulk.
And just doesn't. And now it is Amoonguss versus the world.
I don't think Amoonguss is going to be able to pull this one out.
No.
I think Amoonguss just drops to Water Spout, doesn't it?
I think it does. And there's the forfeit from Lucy.
And there's the forfeit. So I think, yeah, I think from turn 1, Max really had this game under control. At the end of the day, I mean, that's... I guess my concern with this team from Lucy is that if you are against something that is fast and hits really hard, like this Blastoise, then you do have to kind of consider how you get your Trick Room up more consistently. Because I think there are a lot of Pokemon in this format that the Reuniclus can get Trick Room up consistently against.
Yeah.
Or a lot of teams in general. But this is a very fast-paced lead with the Blastoise and Indeedee, and it's hard to see where you get that necessarily here. And Max played that out really well. Get the Reuniclus out of the way, and then figure out how you're going to sweep through the rest of the team.
I think there's something that,
and we don't even know what Max brought in the back.
No, we don't even know. I wouldn't be surprised if there. Any of the Pokemon, honestly, they all have good coverage. I mean, obviously, if we didn't even see, we could have gone Pelipper and Chartaldon, but still.
Yeah.
I think right now the right lead for, and I'm not opposed to seeing Amoonguss come back in, but I would like to see that Conkeldurr actually leak and just go for a Protect while you Terra the Dragon, the Reuniclus, and Trick Room, because you'll probably take half, I'd imagine. Reuniclus is relatively bulky still, so it's not like it's an auto loss if you do that. And if the Indeedee goes for Helping Hand, that's more ideal for you, because you don't really want to take a Psychic from it, because that's going to do more damage than just adding on the Helping Hand damage, thanks to that Dragon Terra. But I think you've got a Dragon Terra. But a swap of the lead.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I'm curious how that's going to go, because I mean, we see a lot of fake outs that are Rage Powder immune, but Sneasler doesn't even have fake outs, so...
No.
But it does have Throat Chop to try to threaten this Reuniclus. So Reuniclus, I think it's... This is fine for Lucy. You're able to Trick Room here.
Yeah, this is a very, very good position. Because you just... Amoonguss may go down, but you redirect and get that going, and then afterwards... A little tricky after that, just because the Reuniclus doesn't have anything. It can touch the Sneasler very well.
Oh yeah, it absolutely dumps the Sneasler, but
other than that, I feel like the Indie here, it's gonna be redirecting, and that's the hard part. Amoonguss should get decent, like a third onto it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we just see the swap from Reuniclus to Conkeldurr. I think it's a call. We're gonna see Amoonguss that right away, as expected.
Get the Dire Claw, we'll see if that ends up doing any extra effect. It will hurt the Sneasler with the Rocky Helmet, no bonus effect. Psychic coming out as well into the Amoonguss. 4 HP takes the hit, and Reuniclus gets that Trick Room up just fine.
I think right now the play, I would maybe sacrifice this, or if you're gonna switch it.
I think it's fine to switch the Amoonguss because you get that Regenerator boost back. You can give it a little bit more value for you, and I think there are a lot of opportunities to switch around right now because I think Max is going to be very incentivized to protect and redirect and stuff like that.
I wouldn't. The only thing I think the Amoonguss, either way, I feel like the switch into Conkeldurr is good because you get your Flame Orb without wasting a turn. But I was thinking just the Reuniclus can't really do all that much. I think, we are going to see Amoonguss switch up. I wouldn't have been surprised to just see the Amoonguss go for the Pollen Puff onto the Indeedee, so then Conkeldurr can just get rid of it. And then you play around with whatever your last one is. Probably, I think Fire Sharp would be pretty decent also into the... but there's that Terra right away. And that is the Indeedee Terra to Fairy. So actually, that's
a weird choice in my opinion, because you're suddenly taking away the value that you have against this Reuniclus.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. Maybe it was expecting a... I don't even know. But Psychic's
yeah, now that Psychic is going to do a lot more damage into this Edie. It's going to be a 2-hit knockout. Close combat into the Conkeldurr. It does take the hit, though I'd say it's perfectly fine with how that turned out.
Yep.
And this is the bit of an interesting spot. Now,
I think if you're Conkeldurr, you just go... You could go Ice Punch because it's the only neutral move on just...
and I think the Reuniclus is faster out of Trick Room than Conkeldurr, which I think is what Lucy would want here.
There you go.
Because... Okay, well, the Indeedee going to protect anyways, but...
Double protect coming. Yeah. Right, it's just trying to sell out a little bit.
Yeah. And it also makes Conkeldurr take a bit of damage, which... It will eventually chip down to that Flame Orb. It did take a lot of damage on the switch in.
Yeah. Enough to survive and potentially knock these out. But the thing is, you have to... If you're a maxer, alright, I really need to preserve these two. I wouldn't be surprised to see a swap out into... Especially if you do have Pelipper and Archaludon. That would be really nice because Archaludon's super tanky and can just start getting some boots going. If you can predict the right one to switch into. I don't think we're going to see Blastoise. Dragonite could be in the back, but I feel like it's going to be the Rain combo. And I think you got to preserve... I wouldn't even be surprised if you just bring up Pelipper, accept the Rain. Yeah, and then just keep your Sneasler, and you don't really... Archaludon's an interesting spot because it does not want to take a close combat from Conkeldurr. But Ice Punch on the Sneasler is going to pick up a knockout.
That is a lot of damage. I guess it makes sense. I always forget how much damage Conkeldurr does, because we have not really seen it in VGC in a very long time. But man, that thing does a lot of damage. And speaking of a lot of damage...
That was extremely nice. That knockout.
I mean, and that's the nice thing about this team, is that if you're able to get your Trick Room up, you are doing a ton of damage.
And not to mention that Indeedee helped a bit with that Psychic Terrain.
Yeah. So. Oh, that's absolutely true. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I was thinking if you, And it's Blastoise in the back.
Yeah.
Well,
that's tough though, because now I don't know what your Blastoise is going to be able to do. I mean, you have Rain up now, which is nice, but the problem is, how much time in Trick Room do we have left? This is the last turn of Trick Room, then it might have to be... Yeah, I still think Lucy's in a really nice spot here, but Max is going to be able to double protect if needed and try to get out of this turn.
If you're able to do that, that is basically going to be able to at least sweep, I would imagine. But I would be shocked if this is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at this point it's just going to come down to whether or not this turn ends because I'm looking up the HP on everything. It is Rain boosted Water Spout with Flash Play. I do not think any on Lucy's side. It's going to be a Moon Punch. And there's the Trick Room.
I'll say on the other side of things, though, that...
Oh, there's that Terra Dragon still available.
Yeah, Reuniclus still has the Terra Dragon available, and the Terra is not available for Max, so you don't get that boost on the water, even though you do get the Rain boost. We'll see how much this does. It'll still probably do a lot of damage, but I think this is the best way for Lucy to try to win this one.
It's going to be incredibly close.
We'll get the Helping Hand.
Rain boosted, Flash Plate, full health, Water Spout, Terra Dragon, and the Amoonguss protecting. Yeah, you kind of have to.
I think that's smart. Here's the Water Spout.
It's going to determine the rest of the match, I think.
And it does. Reuniclus takes it pretty well, yeah. That's better than I expected.
Same here.
Trick Room gets up, and that should pretty much be the battle, I think.
I think so. I think there's not much here. I think Amoonguss going for the Rage Powder. I actually feel like Palm Pump is very smart into the Reuniclus. Yeah. And then you just go for the Psychic. Indeedee kinda needs to follow me here. I wouldn't be surprised if we just see a double protect, but if you do that, you're now also at this. Yeah, there's the protect, but it's onto the Blastoise. But I think, like, whether or not if you double protect, that Pollen Puff's going to be able to heal the Reuniclus, and at that point, you're just like, oh, okay, now it's really hard to hit, and your only neutral move is Psychic. If you're Indeedee, the Water Spout is not going to do a ton because we saw how much it did. It's going to be able to get hit first. And so your and Psychic doesn't do a ton
takes those hits pretty well. I mean, again, Reuniclus is a very bulky Pokemon. That's a very high HP stat.
I think at this point, you just you can play Shadow Ball.
I think you just keep clicking your main stab move into that Blastoise. I mean, you can't double protect at this point, and that's the thing as well, where this Pokemon is very reliant on the Water Spout damage. Does not have that water spout damage. Water Pledge just doesn't do that much.
So this turn, NDD protects, which is every single time NDD protects, it means that Blastoise' water spout is going to do less and less and less. The Reuniclus goes back to full, which is extremely useful. Because and that's going to do a lot of damage. This is a Life Orb Reuniclus, though.
It is a Life Orb Reuniclus. Of course, it does not take the damage because of Magic Guard. But, yeah, I think that's going to be game number 2.
Yeah, I think that is.
It might be a little slow, but one way or another, it's going to be game number 2. Yeah, and Max is just going to forfeit. So that was a nice game by Lucy. I think Max switched things up at the start, and it really cost him. And I wonder if he's going to want to go back to that Blastoise and DD lead, because what do you do about that if you're Lucy? I mean, I guess you ask again, does that Terra Dragon get you through it? Because I'm doing the math in my head, give me a minute.
It's an interesting...
The Rain is a bigger boost than Terra, right?
The Rain and Terra, I believe,
are they equivalent?
I think they're equal. So... it's not going to KO unless you get both out, and that's not...
Yeah.
And of course you have with the Helping Hand on top.
Yeah, you can't KO before the Trick Room, so you might have to switch things up a little bit.
Yeah. I would not mind... I like the idea of kind of baiting out the Blastoise and then hard swapping into something like Archaludon. Because I think, indeed, he kind of walls Reuniclus, which is really nice, because at best, it can take Psychic. That's it. And then Archaludon is not in a bad spot to just... You could then switch into your Pelipper and go for Electro Shots. It'll probably take hits. Or you could just redirect from the NDD. I just think that either way, like... And of course, the reason I say Archaludon is because it's got Dragon Pulse, so you're able to just hit the Reuniclus after the Terra Dragon. And then Amoonguss isn't going to be doing much because your safety goggles on the NDD, so I feel like I wouldn't be surprised to see a hard switch here, but
I like where Lucy's mind is with this play so far. And I think that's the other thing for Max. Ooh, this is interesting. I think the other thing to mention for Max is that you have to remember the Terra was not used well in game number 2. It was used to make Indeedee way more vulnerable to Reuniclus. This is a better use of it because it does not change your defense, and it makes you do a ton more damage with your big water spouts.
That's interesting because...
We're going to see what the water spout does against this Reuniclus, but I like Lucy's play to try to mitigate this, especially because you're not going for the... Well, we'll see the play out, but the Trick Room is actually the more passive option here, and while you do want the Trick Room up at some point, if you can neutralize this Blastoise early on in the battle, that is big. Here comes the Water Spout.
Terra Water, Helping Hand. This should do about 3/4 if our calculations are correct.
Yep.
Little less.
This is about the same amount of damage that it did in game number 2. Game number 1 to Amoonguss and game number 2 there. That is a lot of damage to the Blastoise, and the Pollen Puff is going to heal up that Reuniclus pretty near to full.
That is a very good play. That was a very good play.
That's a fantastic play. Because now, that Blastoise ain't doing that much damage.
No, safe setup
and that's the use of the Terra now. So, yeah, the Trick Room is perfectly safe. And there's not a whole lot that Max can do about it right now, which would then mean that Lucy has fairly free reign to switch around different things and try to get things going. Because remember, the only thing we've seen do that much damage this series from Max is Blastoise.
Yeah.
And that did a lot in game number 1.
It's an interesting...
It's not going to be able to do that now.
I feel like right now, the best bet for Max is like, you know what? Let's Helping Hand and just go for...
See if you can Water Pledge.
Yeah, Water Pledge the Amoonguss and
see how much damage you do. Oh, or the Amoonguss, yeah.
I was going to get Ray Powdered, but still, like... It should do decent... I think Amoonguss is going to take it, but if you can get rid of it, that'll help a little bit, because you can then stall out the Trick Room. It does actually pick up the KO. So Max is in, like, the worst position in the world. You do have to set up the Trick Room. It's gonna just come down to those protect turns, I think. If you could stall it out, and then you're in the back, you're holding on to either Sneasler, Archaludon, or Pelipper.
Oh, I want to see that. All right.
Yeah, fair enough. Gotta play
Well,
safe.
and it's tough because Conkeldurr doesn't necessarily want to come in right now because you don't have your Flame Orb up yet.
But I think this is the turn to bring it in because
Yeah, you still probably have to do it, but it still doesn't feel great to do.
no.
I
I actually like the Conkeldurr here because it's a pretty safe double protect from Max. Like the plan for Max is now just stall that Trick Room and get rid of.
That is true, actually.
So Conkeldurr comes in safe.
Yeah, Conkeldurr actually comes in safer than I gave it credit for. But even still, it's going to be tough for Max. Like, what does Max do this turn? Like this upcoming turn.
There's actually
after you've protected.
one decent play here, which I like, which is follow me on NDD. And yeah, you're going to lose your NDD, but Blastoise is going to be able to get a single hit off, and then you could protect
Is
again.
NDD going to be able to take a knockoff?
Yeah, the Conkeldurr's faster. This is not good.
The Conkeldurr is the faster one out of the two of them here. Under Trick Room.
I don't think NDD takes a knockoff. There's
Does
no way.
NDD take a knockoff? Let's find out.
No.
It absolutely does not.
So the plan is you
and that means this
go with your
Blastoise
last
is dropping
two.
as well, yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't entirely sure that NDD could take the knockoff,
No.
and that was the only real way this play worked.
Yeah,
And that'll mean the Blastoise with that Terrastal is going to drop Max down to his last two, with
No.
one more still in the back for Lucy.
very nice seeing both fighting and dark coverage on a mon that isn't a bear. But Dragonite coming in the back.
You got me on that while I was drinking water.
And Sneasler in the back. Ooh, I do not like these two. I think the rain would have been a little bit better. I mean, not
It
much,
is,
but
I will give, it is multi-scale Dragonite, so it will take a hit.
I think
Sneasler has probably the best damage profile against this team. It's not ideal. I mean, and that's the problem as well, where it's like you probably have to double protect here, or at least do something along those lines. But Lucy has a very easy click big damage button on Pokemon and win. And especially, it's something we don't think about a whole lot. Loaded dice is a big part of why Scale Shot Dragonite works.
Yep.
And so if you just go knock off into that Dragonite, it'll lose the loaded dice, and suddenly it loses a lot of that damage.
But not even just that. You got Ice Punch with Guts Boost through
That's
multi-scale.
also true.
It's still going to do a lot. If you
Yeah,
double up
that
into the Dragonite, it is not good.
Well, I don't even think you have to double up. I think you could just Ice Punch the Dragonite,
might.
psychic the Sneasler.
Yeah,
I mean, worst case scenario, I mean, Sneasler's not getting through this turn.
No,
Max
unless it
might
doubles.
have to double protect Sneasler at least,
Yeah.
if not both of them.
I think the play is to double protect the Sneasler and then just go for the Scale Shot on... I'd probably Scale Shot Conkeldurr. Because you... Or you could go for... Yeah, Scale
Well,
Shot.
and this should be the last turn of Trick Room.
That's why. I think if you could double
I think-
protect your Sneasler...
yeah.
Don't... Because, like, Ice Punch through multi-scale you might live, and... Based on the last turn, it looks like Lucy is banking on hitting Sneasler with Psychic right away. So it's like, okay, the only way I could get my two out of this, if your Max is like, okay, get the double protect on the Sneasler, and then multi-scale saves me. And after that, I can go for Throat Chops, I can go for whatever I need, but no protect on either way. But Dragonite does take an Ice Punch.
Does barely take that Ice Punch, but Sneasler will not take that Psychic.
No.
Absolutely no shot at taking that, and so it's down to a very low HP Dragonite. Coming out of Trick Room, it will go for the Scale Shot. I like the choice to go for a Uniclus, take it out. The problem is, I don't know how you win this. You are faster now, but the problem is you're not going to take another hit. There is no other hit that you're going to take here.
No.
And we know that last Pokemon is in fact the Emboar. I think we will at least get the celebrity knockout from Emboar if Max doesn't decide to knock it out first. Which
And here's Emboar with a steel chair! No,
well, and that's the problem. I'm trying to find any out for Max here, but I simply do not see a way that it's anything other than an Ice Punch, 100% accurate, no chance that it's not going to go through, and whatever move the Emboar decide to go for.
And there's the forfeit.
And there's the forfeit. Lucy Parker with a mono Unova team with that Mandibuzz there, showing off the extra Unova Pokemon.
The honorary team member.
The honorary team member.
No, Lucy...
Getting it done, making it happen.
Yeah, it was a great a game by Lucy. I think they were able to just... Once they realized, okay, I need Terra Dragon, that is where really things shifted. I think that was the only mistake made in Game 1, but wonderfully played, especially for a... Oh, it's not showing up. Oh well.
I was really hoping that we'd get a good angle of that.
There. Look at the bows. There's little green bows on it that are being affected by the green screen.
It's the green screen.
Green screen bows. It just looks like the ears are floating. But no, I was saying is Lucy just was able to, as soon as that Dragon Terra became obvious that it was necessary, took advantage of that right away.
Yeah, and I think that Max tunneled a little bit too much on that strategy as how to break through this team, rather than maybe going for the Archaludon or something that could play it out a little slower.
Yeah.
Doesn't have necessarily as great a turn one or something like that, but you can play it out a little bit differently. I would have liked to see like a Pelipper or Archaludon lead.
I like
and
that
see what
lead.
would have happened out of that.
No, I really like that lead too, because especially the more that the Archaludon gets hit first, it's tanky. It'll be able to take the Conkeldurr and Emboar hits, and at that point you're stalling Trick Room, which is kind of your strategy if you're Max. You don't have a way to stop it, so why not just stall it?
Yeah.
And I think that, that would have been a bit of a better lead. But
in any case, that was fun.
It was a very fun match.
It's just round one. We have 4 more, and then top 8. Like, we've got so much coming.
A big day, so stick around, or else you will be judged.